Since the making of episode 1, many of the men we're interested in, they've fled to Pakistan. Our main subject in this episode fled to Pakistan and he's yet to return. Literally, men from Telford might as well have chartered their own planes to Kashmir. But I'd like to say a thank you. A thank you to members of the Muslim community, because many of them have come forward from Telford and pointed us in the right direction for our investigations. More and more people in Telford have come forward to tell us their stories and tell us what's really going on. We've connected local MP Lucy Allen, who's very strong on this issue. We've connected her to a victim who is trapped and is in need of help. Hopefully she's going to help her. Bearing in mind Telford Police have refused to meet me, we've been in contact with the National Crime Agency, the NCA, about the information that we've gathered. And there has been a frenzy of house attacks and car firebombings. This is a new episode. It's a new investigation. They're new allegations, but they're all part of the same network of related families. For this episode, we're looking at the Hussains, the Iqbals, and the Khans. And the Ahmeds, we'll catch up with you in a future episode. I want to be clear before I start. Where allegations are made, nothing has been proven. And we will be giving the accused the right to reply. Finally, if you're one of those people who is going through keyboard abuse at our survivors, as has happened with Nicole, they deserved it. They wanted it. They're lying. Just remember, there are multiple allegations against each individual we're going to approach. And remember, these stories are about little girls, some as young as 10, being violently gang raped by adult men. Take a long, hard look at yourselves. We're ready, yeah? So, anytime, if you want to stop. I know it's probably been difficult coming here, and more difficult what I'm going to ask you to talk about. I read your independent inquiry. It's devastating. Is it all right if we just start at the beginning and literally just have a conversation where we flow through, and if there's bits I want to question you more on, then I will, if that's all right with you. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, first of all, when was you born?
1984.
1984. And you grew up in?
Telford.
In Telford. And what was your childhood like?
Had a good childhood until things started going wrong, probably around the age of 12. My dad was an alcoholic, and I was always his shadow. Wherever he went, I went. So I was always going to the pubs with him to look after him.
And at which age did your abuse start?
Well, the grooming started when I was about 14, but I didn't, it started going really bad when I was 15.
Explain to me what grooming is. What's the process, so that people understand the process that happens to a young girl?
They start taking you out in the cars, buying you things, not asking you for nothing, just being nice, saying that they, want to be your friend, your best friend.
What sort of things do they buy you?
They start off with fags, alcohol, credit, then it'd be food, jewellery. After they know that they've got your trust and stuff, then that's when they start, they say that they're your boyfriend, make you feel that, you're loved and you're special. And then after a while, they start introducing you to other men.
Can we talk about your first time that this started with you? Can we talk about who it started with and tell me what happened?
The first time for me was with someone from the Royal Balti in Wellington. My friends was already involved. They was involved from the age of 12 and 13. One day, my friend asked me to go with her to the Royal Balti, as she was sleeping with a man there, the owner of the business.
And who's that?
Abdul Latif.
And he's the owner of the Royal Balti?
In Wellington. He owns Peppers in Trench as well.
So how old was she?
She was about 12.
And she was having sex, being raped by him?
Yeah. She'd make me stand outside the door upstairs while she went in there with him. And she used to say to me, make out my mum's rang in like 5 minutes and say that I've got to go home quick.
To get her out of there.
So I used to make out, we've got to go, your mum's going mad. And then, so she didn't have to stay there for that long.
This is an Indian restaurant. Were there customers in the restaurant at the time of this?
Yeah.
You were upstairs in the side room then?
You go upstairs, there's all rooms upstairs.
Okay. Was this the first time you were physically or sexually assaulted?
No, it just started off me going there with her.
Okay.
And then we started going on deliveries with one of the drivers there.
Who was the driver?
He was called Mia, that's all I know. He was from Birmingham in Handsworth.
Okay.
The one day he just said to me when he was dropping us off home that I was the cute one. And he went to give me a kiss and I just ran. I jumped out the car and ran.
So you're all children? And they're organising you to lose your virginity with who?
Mia, the driver, because my friend who was going with the owner, they organised it all between them.
So where did you lose your virginity?
At the Royal Balti.
In the Indian restaurant, upstairs. And how old was Mia?
He was late 30s.
Late 30s. And you at this point were 14 or 15?
15.
15. So this is the car park of the Royal Balti.
Up them stairs, yeah, up them stairs. And it was that far room.
And that far room?
As well.
So this far room here, in the corner, is that where you lost your virginity?
Yeah. 29th of August, 1999.
Do you remember the date? Is the restaurant open?
Yeah.
There's customers?
All the workmen are working in there, and they kept coming into the kitchen. That's where we had to stay in there.
Yeah.
Be in the kitchen as well. And they'd come in and grope us all, and then they'd go back out.
They'd come in and touch you all up.
Yeah.
So there's kids in here being touched up, kids in here being raped,
Yeah.
and unsuspecting customers sitting out there having their Indian restaurant, having their food.
Yeah. There was Abdul Latif, the owner.
Yeah.
One of the drivers.
Where was Abdul Latif from?
They're all from Birmingham.
They're all from Birmingham.
They just used to drive down.
They used to drive down to this restaurant, and then they'd have all the local young girls, English girls, they'd be raping them in here.
Yeah.
Abdul Latif, Mia. How old was Abdul?
30s as well.
30s.
And then there was Islan, he was like late 20s. And there was another one called, I think his name was like Sham. He looked a bit like that one that was just out here, but I don't know 100% if it is the same one, because obviously it's years ago.
Yeah.
But he had like his looks.
So that could have been him standing there.
Yeah.
Did he rape you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All four of them.
All four of them raped you? And you've been to the police?
Yeah.
About these men as well?
They've got their photos as well.
They've got their photos. You've took them to this restaurant.
There's even on the pictures, they're groping me on the pictures.
And the pictures the police have?
Yeah.
And you're a child?
And my dad reported it as well.
Back?
But the police said that they couldn't do nothing because I gave consent.
You're a child?
I was 15 and they said that they couldn't do anything because my dad goes, I want them done. And they said we can't do anything because she gave consent.
What year was this?
1999.
Was it upstairs in a bedroom? Was it?
Yeah, there was a bed in there. It was really untidy, there's like stuff everywhere.
So you've now lost your virginity, you're 15 years old, you've lost your virginity to, was he a Pakistani? Was he?
Bangladesh.
A Bangladeshi? You lost your virginity to a 30-year-old Bangladeshi from Birmingham. Did it stop there?
No, that was just when everything went wrong after that. Going to school and my friend Lucy and her boyfriend at the time picked us up and I started getting to know him more.
It's just Lucy
Lowe.
Lucy Lowe, who was murdered.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend's name?
Azzy.
Azzy, okay.
He started ringing me a lot. Just being nice, wanting to chat and telling me about Lucy and stuff and how she'd done his head in and things like that. Every time I was upset, he'd always like talk to me and used to say, if you ever get upset, if anything bad happens, you know, you can always ring me and stuff, I'll always be there for you. And he gave my number out to this Asian called Jibby, and Jibby gave my number to someone called Bash, and then it was Bash, who passed my number on to Munchie, and then things got a whole lot worse from there.
So you heard in chapter 1, Nicole's story, how these men got control of her at the age of 11 through their restaurant and their takeaway delivery business. Now we hear the same story from and once it started, her number was passed from one man to another man, from Jibby to Bash, from Bash to Munchie. King Ahmed, as he calls himself, or Mushtaq Ahmed Hussain, now the proud owner of the Mumbai Lounge. We'll come back to Bash shortly, but for now, let's meet Munchie, who we've been watching. Yeah, that's right. Like the others, he's performing Hajj, or pilgrimage to Mecca, so devout in his religion, just like anti-grooming preacher Muhammad Charlie Khan from episode 1. Given the testimonies we've heard, on and off, we've been watching him for a couple of years. We can't show you everything here, but we'll share everything we have with the police. What we can tell you is that Munchie, Mushtaq Ahmed, Kayani King Ahmed, as he likes to call himself, is the sole director of the Mumbai Lounge. And it's therefore the Mumbai Lounge and locations he frequents that we're interested in.
ਸਾਡੇ ਰੁਤਬੇ ਮੜਕ ਠਰਮੇ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਪਤਾ ਬਾਲਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਜਾਨੂ ਸਾਡੀ ਯਾਰੀ ਔਖੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਐ ਜੋ ਸੀ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ ਲੰਡੂ ਫਿਰਨ ਬਥੇਰੇ ਜੋ ਟੋ ਟੋ ਕੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਜੇਬਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਹੀਂ ਮੁੱਢ ਤੋਂ ਆਸਤਰ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਉੱਠਣੀ ਬਹਿਣੀ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਛੱਡ ਗਏ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜੱਟ ਛੱਡਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਸ਼ੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਛੱਡ ਗਏ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜੱਟ ਛੱਡਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਸ਼ੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ।
To put things into context, we're told our main subject, Munchie, is cousins with Muhammad Charlie Khan and Bugsy Khan from episode 1. We're also told that Munchie is cousins with Nazir Ahmed. We'll catch up with Nazir Ahmed's family in a future episode. But Munchie has two sisters. Nazir Begum, who is married to Zafar Iqbal, nicknamed Crowy. Remember that name, because we're going to catch up with him later in this episode. Okay? He has another sister, Khan, also known as Razia Begum. Now, Razia Begum is married to Muhammad Charlie Khan from episode 1. You can see how intertwined these families are. Who's Munchie?
Mushtaq Ahmed.
Talk me through what happened when you first met him and how things developed with him.
He kept ringing me for weeks, saying that he knew he could see me, he was driving past me, he knew what I was wearing, he knew everything about me. So I started getting paranoid, looking around the streets thinking, who's this man? How does he know me? Then he just kept sending me all nice text messages and like love poems and stuff, and you used to get them me to you teddy bear pictures. I was talking to him for ages and then I met him and he picked me up from TCAT one day when I was there on an induction day. He just took me to a car park and we was talking, and then he arranged to pick me up from school the next day.
How old was Munchie?
He was about 32.
32, and he's picking you up from school, so you're a school child and he was picking you up from school?
Yeah. He started taking me to his restaurant after school.
So can you talk me through some of the incidents with Munchie? I know this is going to be difficult because I've read some of them.
Obviously I thought I was going out with him. Don't know, he's just really nice to begin with. Take me to the restaurant and then I'd get there and he'd make me some food. I'd have my food and things like that, but then after a while it started to get bad. Like at the end of the night when everyone would like close up and it'd all finish, he'd take me round like the corner, we'd turn all the lights off and just the radio would be on, and then he'd have sex with me. But then as I went to get up to get dressed to go home, That's when all the others would walk in.
All the others?
The workers.
The workers at the restaurant. How old were you at this point?
15.
So he'd rape you. You say have sex. You thought you was his girlfriend, but he'd rape you. And then afterwards, all of the other workers would come in and...
Yeah, because I'd be fighting, and then he'd be laughing. He'd like be trying to pin me down, and I wouldn't give in. So he'd laugh for ages, and he'd just say, "She does want it. She's just playing hard to get." And I'd be saying to him, "No, I'm not. Leave me alone." And then when he couldn't like pin me down, he'd start getting angry. Then that's when he'd like get angry and get a bit violent because he's, not winning, wasn't doing what he wanted. Then he'd just pin me down and just let them all have me.
When you say them all, how many men?
Like 5 or 6.
So he'd rape you and then he'd hold you down whilst 5 or 6 other men who work at his restaurant would rape you. Do you know any of those other men were?
Yeah. His brother-in-law.
His brother-in-law? Who's his brother-in-law?
He goes by the name of Crowy or Cobra.
So Munchie is raping you with his brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Together?
He was like the main one.
In these incidents, did they say anything to you? What sort of... Did they call you anything? Did they...
I was always a slag and a whore.
Did they ever use any of their own language regularly?
Yeah. All the time. It was like white trash and stuff like that. And white skin. They'd always use like words like chitty chumbry and yagora.
What's chitty chumbry mean?
I'm not too sure now, I can't remember. I think it's like...
I'll look it up.
They'd always call me names, like Munchie was the worst. Like after everything happened and he like made me sleep with them all, then I was a slag. He'd just start calling me names and I used to say to him, "You're the one that made me go with him. I didn't want to, so how am I a slag?" And he'd be like, "You loved it." That's all I get.